Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. My name's Charles McGillivray, and as always, I'm joined by Jess Keble and Simon Stacey. We're a fans podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints, proudly supported by the Rugby Paper, which delivers a lot of great content. How are you both doing?
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
I'm good. Yeah, never good to lose a derby, is it?
Yeah, it was an odd one. It's almost one of those ones where it's great to get the extra derby in the season, but then when it's like such a weird cup game, sort of neither team full strength, stadium not full, it's like it loses a bit of its glitz and glamour a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah.
Even said that they had 16,000 in, apparently. I don't think they did. I think that's including season ticket holders who didn't turn up. But 16,000 tickets sold. There's more than you get at Franklin's Gardens.
Yeah. That's what happens, though, isn't it? The same at the Saints, isn't it? The season ticket counts as a sold ticket. If someone doesn't turn up, it still counts. So. But, yeah.
What do you think of the game?
First 20 minutes was all right. The big man turned up, didn't he? Blimey. I think he's still got half their pack on his shoulders. But yeah, it was a bit stop-start, bit missed. They just didn't seem to gel, did they? A lot of players missing, but it gives some boys a chance to come back from injury, some of the young lads. But yeah, it's one of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a bit messy. That's probably how I describe it, to be honest. We were very messy, and yeah, it just didn't really come together. So yeah, it's just one of those, isn't it? Really, we still have a few people out injured who they might have wanted to have sort of chucked in there, and I looked earlier to see if there was any update from the media thing earlier today, but I can't see anything yet, so I still don't know what the situation is with some of the players that weren't there or got injured on the day or whatever. So, but yeah, it was just a bit of it wasn't just that it was a mess, it also just wasn't actually that, like, normally even if I'm watching Saints and like they're like tearing the opposition apart, I still can find it entertaining, but it was very much a slog. I felt myself kind of like tuning out a little bit in the second half, like, and not even just because like we were losing, I just don't think it was that good a game quality wise, really, from either side, to be honest, overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely good bits and bad bits. I mean, I think it was a very un-Saints-like performance, and based on his current team, there were a lot of unforced handling errors, and almost people thinking they were going to break the line before they'd caught the ball. There was and this is from players who aren't, youngsters playing for the first time. This is from players who are experienced pros and contending for the first team. There's a few potential line breaks that became nothing because they didn't catch the ball before they hit the line, and a bit unforced errors. But then there were a few times, first half where and we scored tries off them when we went back to old school Jim Mallon to Doe West rugby, where it's just forwards running around the corners quite effectively. Big JJ, like you said, got a few good carries in and try, etc. from just getting around the corner and him barging over. I mean, he looked absolutely knackered after the first 40. And I don't know whether he's like been on holiday or he's had a lot of bray in the last few weeks or something, but he definitely didn't. I thought we were getting somewhere in terms of his fitness levels, but he was looking a bit gone after the first 30, 40 minutes.
That's the joys of having a few weeks off, isn't it, I suppose. And like you say, if he's been away, it probably takes a lot of food to feed that boy. He's probably had a bit of fun.
All I know is that he was at the game at the Gardens the week before because I saw him. Because it's like impossible not to see him. So yeah, I know he was around at that point, but yeah, whether he took some time, I don't really know. But I mean, it still felt like he put like a big shift in. But
he was influential.
100%. I suppose that's really all you kind of ask for at the end of it, isn't it? Really, that if you're at least going to make an impact, then it's a net positive, I suppose, overall. But it's just such a dreary day, dreary game, and yeah, it's just one of those that you just you put it in the column of like, does it really mean anything? I don't know, but is it one that you're ever going to remember? Probably not.
No, it's not going to be remembered. That's for sure. I mean, trying to think, you've got to think about what were the positives, what would the team take out of that? Because I think, we said last week that they would have gone into that game with the idea of getting some game time, some rhythm, some sort of, boots on the ground time for a number of players ahead of the Bears game. And they probably took that away. It's one more game for Slights, it's one more game for Ferbs, towards getting them back to where we need them to be and want them to be.
Yeah. I suppose it was a bit of an ask, really, wanting to get Ferbs to play 10 straight after the injury, but he needed to be. Like you said, he's hopefully ready for Bristol. Is it Bristol this weekend? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The number of minutes would have helped, definitely. Like, as soon as you saw that he was 10 on the sheet, it was like, well, he's going to have to put in a decent amount of time because we don't really have anyone else. so at least he's not going into Bristol without time under his belt. And obviously with Smith back, it looks like he won't have to do the 10 role most likely, so he can kind of slot back in where he's more comfortable.
Yeah, no, exactly, definitely. I mean, but it gave him plenty of hands on the ball. Like I say, it's not the whole thing was really clunky and not at our best, and that wasn't. I think it wasn't really anyone's fault. It was just errors. Those handling errors that we don't normally see. But what it did, it meant he got plenty of ball and got it, minutes, etc. I think looking at the rest of the side, I think it was good to get JJ a bit of time ahead of the game. It was good to get Munger a bit of time as well, because we'll get into it. But they'll probably both be needed quite a lot over the next few weeks. Hendy went off with a knock. That's concerning. Wyman had to start because but Parlin got injured, and young Pugh made his debut off the bat. I mean, young, he's probably older than Wyman, but the other youngster, Pugh's a student, made a debut. We are short at 9 at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah.
Which is quite ironic, considering we were saying a few weeks ago we've probably got 4 of the best nights. Just unfortunate, isn't it? Because we've got some of the best talent in the league, and yeah, we'll see. Well, is James injured again then?
But he was put down as unavailable, for the.
And then I suppose the difficulty as well is like, I mean, and we'll get back. I know we'll come on to it again in a bit, but it also raises questions of, I know the England lads have to be rested once over the next 3 games. Are we going to be in a situation where they maybe can't rest Mitchell this weekend because we don't have like a decent choice? Like, I mean, they'll make their own decisions, whatever it is, when you're playing a lot of rugby, to be fair. But do they maybe have to use him for a week whilst it depends how far away the others are from fitness, right? Like, if at Parland is just he picked up a little bit of a tweak and he's going to be all right, then it doesn't become as much of an issue, I suppose. But that's why I said, like, before we started recording, I was hoping to get a bit of a. Normally they post on social medias like what came from the media day, and you get sort of injury update, and I haven't seen anything that had been published just yet. So we still have a few kind of question marks of who is going to be around and who's not. But yeah, it just seemed to be sort of a situation of we really didn't want it again after last season. And like, yeah, we've got some people coming back, but it seems for every one person that's come back from injury, another 2 get added back onto the list again. And like you mentioned with JJ really needing some time under his belt, because we're not going to have Coles most likely, because he put in like monster shifts across those 4, like over that their coordination series. And I think Lockett is still was injured, and I'm sure someone said he was in a boot or something, so it suggests it's maybe not going to be an immediate return necessarily. So yeah, we're going to need some of these guys. Like I said, why it's important for like Munger to get minutes and stuff, because there are going to be some people that we just will not have available.
Yeah, do they have to be rested though if they had not played?
If you've played,
nor did Finn.
If you played in all of them, so I think Finn doesn't have to be, and he's already back in training. To be fair, I think they said he was back at training, and actually Mitchell and Coles are not in training this week, and I know that Mitchell's in Dubai, so he probably is being stood down this weekend, and Coles wasn't there, so Finn will be, because they said he doesn't. And I think it's a case of I can't remember. Did Alex play in the first one?
Yeah, Alex played in all of them. So Alex,
so
Coles, and Pollock played in all of them.
Yeah,
I think, and Dingers has obviously took a knock. so they'll manage him, and Finn is back in training.
Yeah. So I think it said like Finn was back, like Tadaro is back from Italy. So we've got a few people that are able to slot back in, like
Yeah.
But
Well,
like you said, so yeah.
before we get on to discussing the Bears game, should we just cover off this group of Premiership games and Premiership Cup games as a whole, and think who impressed, who went well, how did they perform, where we are in that competition? What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, it was a good start, wasn't it, at the start of the season, but seems to have gone downhill a bit now. But then that's what you're supposed to use it for, aren't you? Some other clubs use it to win a trophy, but we're clearly using it to progress the youngsters and the injuries, the lads that are injured. But yeah, it's not been the best. We were unbeaten until the last 2 weeks. Yeah, there's not much else I can say. It's a bit of a poo-poo, isn't it?
I mean, I think we've used it to blood players, but when we've used it to bring players back to fitness, we've used it to give squad players opportunities to push their chances to play more games. But I would say though, I think against Newcastle less so, but then against that Tigers team on Wednesday, I don't think we've performed as well as we would have liked to. And I think through the Prem season, I know we're undefeated. We didn't perform as well as we'd have liked to, but we managed to get the wins. I think the cup games we didn't perform as well as we'd have liked to, and then we got found short a couple of times as well. So it's it'll be really really sort of telling when we go into the Bears game as to performance and result. Because whether it's a case of in the Prem we didn't perform, but because there was so much on the line, we dug it out and we got the results, and then suddenly you get into the cup game and perhaps from some of the group there's less on the line, and therefore they didn't get that mental state to dig it out. Whereas going into Bears now, first and foremost, performance is the most important thing, because results are a consequence of performance. But we haven't had that. That hasn't been a game this year, I don't think, whereby we've been as good as we'd want to be. Like, we've played well times and everything. I'm not saying we've been bad, but we've set very high standards that we now sort of expect, and we've not got to them yet. And I think that's sort of the only difference between the cup run and the league run is we got the results in the league.
Yeah.
I think there's a few people I think about forwards wise. I think I've been really impressed by Finn Brown and Archie Benson. And backs wise, I'd probably say Hater and Kakasal, the winger. I think they've put some really good performances out there. So there's a few that I think of, like, and we've got all the reverse fixtures right for all of these teams now. We've got homes aways for whoever it is, like, so there's still time to kind of, because also you still want to play as deep into that tournament as possible, just because it's more games for these guys, because obviously the timings of them are always, the next batch is when the Six Nations comes around, so it's always at times where you do not have certain people available. So at least we've got like a whole new batch, and there's still time for those guys to bring it together. But it hasn't been, I wouldn't say it's been probably the level that they have wanted it to be, but I still think there's been some really impressive like individual performances, even if as a team it's not quite worked how they would have wanted it to.
Yeah, agreed. I know I'd add a few names. I think Toby Tame's been pretty good in the midfield. I think there's work-ons for him, but there's what he's done, in terms of carrying and tackling's been pretty sound. And then I think the two young props, Scholar and Tonga have had good spells as well. They've sort of dropped in, and they've been exceptional. Really, you wouldn't. It's not like you've put a young loosehead in there and he's getting absolutely annihilated, or a young tight head and he's getting pummeled, or anything like that. They've both gone in, and actually the scrum's been consistently good. And I know we really rated Ferguson, etc. But it seems Yako seems to be getting some real fundamentals into that scrum, and it's almost a bit more aggressive, and it's gone really well this year. And I think those two youngsters with his coaching could be a really interesting prospect. So I think those two. But yeah.
Tonga, oh my God, that boy is a beast, isn't he? I think he's bigger than his dad. And was he 18? Is he 18?
Yeah, he's played bigger than his dad.
He's got a massive, massive future. Hopefully, long may it continue. But yeah, I think you got. I forget his name. The other centre, the one with the blonde hair.
Lumley.
Yeah, he did. He had a good game, even though he lost against Falcons. He looks pretty rapid. But yeah, the guys you said have all been pretty decent and all added to the squad, which can only be good, isn't it? Especially with all the injuries we've got. So
yeah. It's exciting, isn't it? Like you got to look at it as it's like a one of these team a bit, and it's just so it's exciting to see these players actually get on the pitch and show what they can do, rather than just be names or training fodder. Like it's actually good to see them and what they can do and what they can bring, and see them develop as well. Because it wasn't that long ago we were watching the likes of Slytome and Hendy and Furbank in this sort of cup competition, and look where they are now. So I think there's some serious prospects amongst that group.
Yep, totally. Yep, it's all good to see the academy's still strong. And again, hats off to Mr. Hockley, because he keeps producing these amazing boys, and it's long may it continue.
100%, 100%. So now should we move on to? We sort of got onto it, but should we move into back to the Prem, into the Bears game? I mean, I think it's almost worth taking this position by position because there's so much going on and so many unknowns. I mean, because like you said, like we don't know whether who's back from internationals. There's so many sort of knocks and niggles around the squad. Like you just look at we start at loose head. I think Iogan's back in training. He played in Spain for the A's, but then Fischetti got named in one of the teams for teams of the autumn internationals, etc. for Italy. He had some really good showings. Although I did think Tupu got a bit on top of him in the Australia game, but
you would.
he had it happened. But I think Tupu gets on top of most people, to be honest. But it's between those two, whether it's a case of does Fischetti? I think Iogan probably plays. He's back. He probably plays. Does Fischetti come back on the bench, or Tom West, who's played a lot in the last few weeks, do they give Fischetti a week off? That's probably the decision, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if it's not Manny is starting. And then yeah. And like I said, that's going to be the difficult thing, right? When it comes to predicting what's going to happen, even when it comes to predicting scorers, we could pick 3 people and none of them could have picked. That seems to be a week thing at the moment. It's none of these people could appear, or all of them could, or whatever. But so I say the ones that are back in training today were Finn Smith, Tadaro, Manny, Trevor Davison, and Tom Pearson were all pictured in training today. So I'm hoping that means that they're all in contention. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't seem to suggest they're still injured, so that's positive. But yeah, I think you'd have to go with Manny. Then it just depends, kind of like you said. It's does Fischetti want/need a bit of a break? If he doesn't, do you bring him straight back in? Do you reward? Because sometimes there's also part of it of do they want to reward some of the performances from the PRC as well? By obviously you still want to put your strongest team up there, but could you argue that perhaps someone who's played in all of the PRC things, are they also just as good at it as in form as other people? It is a really difficult call for them to have to make. I confess that I watched all of these Italy games, but I didn't pay as much attention to who came on and when as I really should have. I'm assuming did Fischetti play in all of them?
Pretty sure Fischetti played every game. Yeah, started every game, I think. He might have been on the bench for the Chile game actually, but
possibly. But I wonder if it just if he has a break after that potentially. I don't really know. But whereas obviously with Tadaro, he played off the bench for a tiny amount of time in one game, didn't he? So that's not really a question. But yeah, starting wise, I'd be surprised if they didn't pick Manny.
Yeah, I mean with Tadaro, etc. I think Dalton sort of touched on it before where he probably physically hasn't played a lot of games, but he's a young lad who's gone from Saints camp into a international camp, and and then coming back into the Saints fold that's a skill to learn, to understand how you go about doing that. Like I said last week, Dowson said that they got very well used to having Courtney Laws, etc., who would just go from camp to camp and be remarkable. It was water off a duck's back sort of thing for him to do that. But then when they got with this younger group came through, the likes of Finn and Mitchell, etc. They hadn't quite worked out that ability to go back and forth so easy. And so with Tadaro, I mean, that's his first ever experience in an international squad. The ability to go back and forth is sort of an unknown, whether he's just going to pick up where he left off, or whether he's going to be a bit shell shocked, or run down by the whole experience, because it's a pretty intense environment, I imagine.
Yeah, I suppose we'll see. I don't think it, because he hasn't played much, but like you said, it can only help, can't it, with his development, playing with like players that are on the international stage. Even if he didn't play, he's still seen those matches, like the All Blacks beating Australia. But yeah, going back to the prop quickly, you say about West. I think he actually had some pretty decent performances. So yeah, I would actually keep him on the bench. Just give Danny a week off, because he held his own. He was making a few turnovers. He was getting around the pitch. For an oldie in the squad, he did all right, I thought.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we're exceptionally strong at loose head. Like, we've got, I think Scholar, like I said, played really well. I think we've got 4 really good options. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Tom West was on the bench. And like Jess said, like, you always want to pick your strongest team, but you've also got to manage the squad over a long period. And if someone performs really well during those cup games and then is suddenly just out of contention straight away, it's sort of, that can be a knock on the motivation and amongst that group, because it's like, well, why bother? As soon as whoever turns up, I'm out of contention. What am I fighting for? Whereas, if you're Ollie Scholar and you see that Tom West plays really well through that period and he gets selected on the bench for the Prem game, it's a bit of motivation, and that applies, in all the positions. So I think it's an element. With a hooker, I mean, I think hooker's a really tough spot for the club, because Curtis was without doubt the starting player. But he's not in contention. You have Robbie Smith coming back from injury, and he's looked okay, but he's coming back from injury. Liam Wright's the sort of the future potentially, and he's had some good moments, especially in the Prem. And then you've got Henry Walker, who's done some solid work. So none of them seem to have really grabbed the position. It's like a open shirt at the moment, and I don't think anyone stood out. It's the hands down is going to start.
You also got the Italian as well, Manfredi.
Manfredi, yeah. I don't know if how long he's around for, but yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. I would say that I wouldn't say any of them have like out and out stood up as like a definite starter. I'd say if I was picking off of like who I think had the strongest performances, I'd probably say Craig Wright. Out of them, probably would be my choice. But then we also know, like, when Robbie Smith is at the top of his game, we know what he can bring. So it is a difficult one. But I say if I was going, and I always say it's like, if I was personally doing it, because I'm not the coaches, and they obviously see different things week in, week out to what we do, so we're basing it on a much smaller kind of pool of info than they are. But yeah, I'd say Craig Wright probably seems to be the one that's more in form at the moment in terms of like performance wise. So I'd probably pick him. But again, I wouldn't be surprised to see sort of any combo of the 3 or 4 of them that are around.
Yeah, and I think they had a good run of games where Robbie started and then Craig White had a real good impact off the bench. So I wouldn't be surprised if they maintain that, because there's no sort of reason to break that almost. No one sort of stood up and challenged that really. But tight head's probably, it's just Big Trev, isn't it?
Big Trev all the way.
If it's I'm going as well, and if it's not Big Trev, I'm turning around and driving home. I love Big Trev. There's something about him, and I think like you could kind of tell that like everyone sort of in the stadium feels the same. There's just something about him.
It's just one of them. He does his job. Does his job. He's quiet. Doesn't want any of the limelight. Doesn't want to be on the camera.
Yeah.
I just run around the pitch, get off, have my dinner, go home. That's him.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it is. It's like if you think about like you've got like Henry Pollock on one side, and it feels like you literally have like Trev on the complete opposite side of like the ways that they kind of deal with like being in the, I say quote unquote spotlight, because they're like Hollywood stars, but they're famous in like that unique kind of way. But yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if it's they've obviously like he's back in training as well, but like I think I'm not saying we don't have other people that are good at that position, but I think Trev is probably the out and out sort of top choice, really.
Yeah, and I imagine Miller Mills coming straight onto the bench. Will Green, Luke Green, sorry, it's obviously being contention, and Kundiona came back and he looks a huge prospect. Like it's tough one,
Sonny.
but yeah, I think it's probably it's unlikely. I guess Sonny will go straight back in, but
It's just the
he'll
depth I was
probably,
on about. It's madness, isn't it?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Sonny will probably be on the bench for Blues, but yeah, like it's going to be between Luke and Miller Mills, I imagine. Luke and Killer, I
Yeah.
reckon. But yeah, this depth is, Miller Mills came off the bench against some of the best sides in the world and did great. Like, so, it shows you the quality of him, and
Yeah.
we're pretty strong in front row compared to where we've been in the past. But
Yeah.
there's so many options there, and then you counter that with the second row, like we said. Like the second row is basically JJ and Munger because
Yeah.
Ed Proud's on the bench. Like
It's
that's it, isn't it?
yeah, it's one of those that it doesn't really pick itself because of form. It just picks itself because of necessity. Like that is literally where they are with that situation of like, yeah, they yeah, and I suppose Prowse is a good bench option just because he covers a couple of extra positions, right? I'm sure
Well,
he's played in a few others. Not properly,
yeah,
but
he has now, but he's really now just tired lock.
yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it is. I
Um,
mean, I
but
think
then I also feel like I can't remember because like that's how little the game had an impact on me in terms of memory. Like I know at one point Munger was down injured, but I can't remember if he or being looked at with his head. I think he got up and carried on.
yeah, I think
Um,
so.
so it seemed to be all right. So yeah, you got to think that, and they've also played. I know JJ had the week before off, but they've also both played. Definitely JJ's played a decent amount of rugby at this point. That just he's in form. He must be ready to go. And like you said, it kind of picks themselves just because, like I said, even on games when when maybe he is a little bit knackered at half time, like he's still putting a hell of a shit like by not just by existing. Like I mean, he literally just
Yeah,
carries people with him. Like it doesn't even have to be. I'm not saying he's not skilled. I hope people don't read that into it because I think he is in different ways. But like he's also just got like a complete like USP that like only a few other players in the game I'd say have of like all he has to do is just run at people and he will get through. Like
yeah, he's got good skills when he's got I think
yeah,
his ability to catch the ball has been not as good as it could be on a few occasions this year, but I think he's getting better at that. But like you
yeah,
said, he's got this USP of his carrying and his physicality, but it's like it's a catch-22 because you want to see him, as soon as he's carried the ball, pop back up and go again. And the same in defence. As soon as he's put a shot in, you want him to get straight back up. But that's very hard when you're that big.
Yeah.
Like it's you can't have it's almost physically impossible to have both. There are like freaks in the world that can, are huge men and can also like gazelles around the pitch. That's a very, very rare trait. And so you've got to sort
yeah,
of go, well, yeah, we get the positive of his gives us guaranteed go forward ball, which is what our backs want. But you therefore you carry him a little bit as well. But I don't mean to criticise him. He's getting better and better. But it's the only other option is second row is you just go Prowse and JJ and just win every single scrum. Absolute, just dominate a fixed scrum time. Go heavy as hell.
With JJ as well, though, you say like, why don't we use him as a decoy? Because literally every time he's in the line to run to the ball, he draws like 3 players automatically. Like, oh god, he's coming, so they all go for him. Just miss pass it. Just miss pass him. Let him run forwards as long as he's not blocking.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
definitely
mean?
the miss pass. But then I think that's the element of his development as well, area of his development whereby he'll take the ball to the line and play it out the back. So you've really committed three, 4 defenders to him. He plays it out the back to Finn, and you're guaranteed to have space, sort of in the wider channels or whatever. So I think that's all
yeah,
part of
The,
his development at the club. I think.
the good thing I'm also loving as well, because I see him on social media and his partner on social media. He's absolutely loving it here. He said like he's
yeah,
found his rugby again, and he's loving the fact that he's found his place, he's wanted, he's loved, and he's got like he's part of the family already. He's only been here a few months. That's
Is
good
it?
to hear.
he's even getting involved. I've seen as well that he's even gotten involved in like so obviously I'm from Toaster, so my local team is Toes, and like I've seen him on his social media and he's been down there a few times getting involved in like he's properly thrown himself into like the rugby being obviously not just a Northampton thing, but like a county-wide thing, and he's kind of thrown himself in and kind of like getting to know like some of the clubs, giving some kind of tips here and there, coaching here and there. So it is really, really fantastic to see. And then, like I said, that always helps with what you're seeing on the pitch. And like, I know we're still talking about like he's got areas of his game to develop, but all I think about is like how positive that is to say, considering how good he already is. Like you think about how far he still has to, like we say about other people, like Pollock, right? About how good he is now and where he'll be in like 5-6 years time. Like what an incredible positive it is to say that like they're not the finished articles, and they're already this good in certain things that they do. Like, we can keep hold of JJ for, a contract or two. Like, I think someone said it after one of the games where he had a really good shift. Like, someone tweeted something like, "Oh, Northampton are going to coach this guy into his national squad, aren't they?" Like, he's got that level of where he could go from here. And yeah, so it's also, and like you said, the incentive for him to do that is really, really high because of how much he's enjoying being in the setup.
Like 100%. Like that's the almost the main strength, or the like our expectation of this side is that players come to this club and get better. Like the coaching team is excellent, and they don't just find a round peg for a round hole. They go out there and go, well, this person is performing at this level, but we back our coaching to performing it incredible. And he is, like you're saying, performing so well. He's really good player. But you sort of think, well, him in that environment, loving rugby, the sky is the limit for him if he's prepared to do it. And like you said, I think I think I was trying to think which club it was. But yeah, Toaster. I don't think it's like he's a case of he's just like popping in every now and then.
I think he's
like
involved.
heavily involved. Yeah. Like, I think he's down there coaching kids and working behind the bar and all sorts. I think he's like, I don't know if that's true, but like he's he's engaged with that community, and that is just, you couldn't praise him enough for getting involved with that sort of stuff. It's amazing to see.
I feel like I need to head down one day. Because could you imagine what that looks like? Him and a bunch of kids. Like the size difference. You think about it like amongst like other Saints players, but could you just imagine you walk down and like this group of kids that look like ant size, and he's like gigantic. It must be kind of crazy in the week, but
probably puts a few of them off thinking about playing rugby. Like, I don't want to be involved in a tackle someone like that. If they're all that big, I'm not playing. But yeah, I think we go on to the back row. I mean, it's probably picks itself as well. I mean, I think Kemeny comes in. I think Pearson 100% comes back, and then it's a decision between Callum and Graham. Is it Sam Graham? Yeah, Sam Graham. Sorry.
I'd say they'd probably go Chick, as he's been rested for most of the Premiership campaign. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with the Chick.
But then also you also have the flip side of that. Do they want to risk having someone come on that has been rested for most of that campaign, or do they want like Sam Graham, who has had minutes? Like, there's a good argument either side. I think I still think Chick is your better option overall, just because, like I said, he's got a bit more form. He's played a lot more minutes, like just over the season. That still would be my choice. I have to do the devil's advocate thing so we can talk about it. But all I know is that
against Tigers, though, didn't he?
Yeah. So, and all I know is that Pollock is also in Dubai, so he's definitely he will definitely be rested also for this week, obviously, because he's on a different part of the world.
At that point, I bet Mitch will love that flight, didn't he? Oh my god!
Turns up on the plane one day. He's like, great, wonderful.
Well, be upgraded, please. I don't want to sit next to him.
I think they're out there with Lions friends.
Oh, wow.
They are. Yeah. He put the photo of. I know Kinghorn was in it, and someone else. So,
yeah.
Which is really, it's also a really nice thing, right? It's kind of like, and I still think, and I'm literally just gonna say one comment on this, but like, it really does kind of touch on like all the comments of nobody likes him, blah 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 blah. So he's on holiday with people from like don't play on the same team as him. Like, he forged really good relationships, and we know like he forged a good relationship with Van der Merwe, for example. Like, and so it's really good just to see that kind of Lions thing, because I think the Lions tour was like obviously a really great time. Won the series, not a great time for Charles as an Australian fan, but good time for kind of to see those relationships blossoming is always nice. But yeah, it does just mean he's definitely not involved, which I think was probably to be expected, to be honest.
Yeah, no, they're definitely gonna.
So because of that, like you said, it really does write itself. You've got to assume, like you said, Kemeny, Pearson, Chick, and then Graham will definitely be on the bench.
Interesting.
And then I suppose it depends who the other bench options are.
Lions, but you said, going on for it reminds me of that. If you Jess's might be before your time, but so I reckon you will remember the Living with the Lions, or the whatever it was called, the '97 Lions tour documentary, and there's this monologue with Geach, where he's like playing for the Lions. It's in 40 years' time, you'll see one of the other players just walking down the street, and you'll be able to look at them, and there'll be a look that you just know. You were there in this moment together. That look will still be there in 40 years' time. And it's like
the end of I don't know if you've seen the Dark Knight trilogy, but when Christian Bale nods at Michael Caine, that's
yeah.
Just a
no, I would just say to make both of you two feel old and other people listening. Yeah, no, I was 2 in 1997, so
okay.
No memories of anything.
I was 15.
I mean, I was only a nipper as well, but I mean, it's folklore in rugby, isn't it? It's just like
I'm 43. The way you two talk, I'm like 90. I'm 43. You know what I mean?
So when in 97 you were double my age.
That's fine.
But anyway,
we want ageism on the podcast. That's fine.
Yeah, no, we obviously but like I'm sure for people listening, they'll have seen that, and it's pure lore of rugby, that Geach thing, and it's that Lions, and they'll know each other. I mean, it's just in the modern world, it's not a case of seeing them down the street and having them locked. It's about going on holiday to Dubai with them. It's like a completely different world we live in. But
yeah, it's a different world. Yeah.
See, I've seen both sides of rugby. I've seen the amateur and the professional. Not like you pups.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah, no, it was professional pretty much by the time. But I mean, there was professional, and then there's what they were doing back in the noughties. It's chalk and cheese in comparison, isn't it?
Yeah.
The early days,
pint at half time and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mad. Yeah. I mean, in the early times when I started going, all the players would still be in the Rodborough after the game, and I mean, the Rodborough has just been built, and then they'd be in there just amongst the fans having a drink and what have you. And I know the fans, they're really great, the players now. It's not like they're completely separated, but it was like there wasn't really any different to going down to a local rugby club as there was to Saints in terms of the...
It's so different. Like I said, I'll do a quick story. When my dad called, I was 4 years old. I used to collect autographs. I got on the pitch, and I think it was Tim Robert at the time. He said, "Do you want to come?" Someone like I might not Bayfield maybe. "Do you want to come in the dressing room?" So I was like a little kid. So like, come in the dressing room. So I'm like looking at all my heroes. I was in there for about an hour. My dad couldn't find me, so he ended up calling the police because he didn't know where I was. So that's like one of the best. But you would never get that opportunity nowadays, would you?
But how do you tell that to how do you tell that to police? Like, if you're like Robert or David, or if it was like, oh yeah, I asked this little child to go to the dressing room.
Exactly that, yeah.
Like in any other situation, you'd be like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?
I think if you tried, they wouldn't dare do anything like that nowadays. I think for the right reasons.
I might not have been 4. I might have been a little bit
for the
older,
right.
I imagine you'd be older than 4, to be honest. But
I was a bit older than 4.
They wouldn't. For the right reasons, nothing like that would happen today. But then and again, it's also sad. But yeah.
But anyway, like I said, it's just like old rugby.
Anyway,
old school rugby.
Back to who would play 9 and 10.
9 and 10, yeah. I mean, the 10. I mean, like
10 is 10. Yeah.
10 is Finn, isn't it? Like if he's back in training, he might be a bit mental fatigued in terms of from the Six Nations because, and not the Autumn Internationals because, being in camp, not being selected, it's
and then he's also come off of like. Yes, we had a bit at the start of the season, but he's also come off that in the lines as well. So, being picked and not being selected when you feel like you maybe should have been or could have been or, would have liked to, whatever the situation. So, yeah, like I said, I think literally it's going to go one of two ways. Either it's going to sort of affect how he plays negatively, like you said, like the mental fatigue, like struggling, or he's going to see it as like, right, I need to hit the ground running because this is my chance to put my hand back up for, Six Nations, actually, when we think about it, is essentially just around the corner. Like it's not that far away, So it kind of depends, and obviously we hope it's the latter. We hope he hits the ground running, and then 9. If McParland isn't injured, you figure it's got to be, or if like the injury is like only a week, you've got to figure it's probably McParland and Wyman. If not, it's going to be Wyman, isn't it? And it also depends where Tom James is. I know that he had a big injury and then he only came back for that's one game and he's back on the list. So I don't know what the extent, or if like the injury he had before had not quite healed maybe the way they wanted it to. So like again, this is why I was hoping that the media stuff would have been released so I could have a cheeky look. But yeah, the reality is that it will probably involve Wyman in some form. I would imagine it's just
Yeah,
kind of
starting
around.
or on the bench. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
going back to Finn, it's like um, sometimes not playing can go one or two ways. Sometimes not playing, your reputation can go up. You know, if you these sort of knife edge decisions as to who starts at 9, or sorry, who starts at 10 for England or for the Lions. If the body that goes in and gets selected doesn't perform, then the player who's not playing, their stock rises, and you sort of suddenly everyone thinks they're the next best thing. With Finn, he's been on these sort of knife edge decisions and he's missed out for whatever reason, but then he hasn't had any opportunity to play. So it's like his stock's gone down because he sort of becomes almost the forgotten man, because the man in the jersey, and kills me to say it, but Ford was excellent, I think, other than perhaps in the Argentina period game for periods, and throughout periods of the tournament where England weren't as dominant as they were for most of it,
yeah,
through the test series, test games. But Ford was, I think, he played well. I mean, and he's going to take some of the media hype because he kicked drop goals, right, and kicks, and got them the win, etc. But Finn hasn't had an opportunity to really perform. If he was playing club rugby and absolutely killing it, there's always the argument remains. But because he went on the Lions tour and there's no opportunities other than if you're in the jersey to perform, and he wasn't. And then he came back, had that imposed rest period, got a couple of games, a couple of clunky games, then we're almost straight back into international
yeah,
rugby, and it's like he needs that opportunity now till the Six Nations to play every week, so that he
yeah,
can get back to because he probably hasn't. It's not that he's gone away, but just get it on the pitch, get it back in selectors' minds as to
yeah,
he's a world-class talent.
It's just Ford. Ford plays Borthwick's way, though, doesn't he? That's the thing. See, Finn's flary like Saints' way. If we had, if Dowson was England coach, there wouldn't be an issue, would there? I'm not gonna doubt what Ford did, but like we were talking about him the other day, was he 32, 33? So like,
Yeah,
you know what he can do.
around there, yeah,
Yeah, so I get it. I'm not being biased. Finn is a different level, different type of player. So it's hard to say that Ford does what Borthwick wants him to do. He's not. He's a great player. We're not dissing that. He's been awesome wherever he's played. But for me, Six Nations, you've got to. He'll probably pick Ford again, but Finn's got to get there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would pick Finn, and I think Finn's got more sort of more rounded game. He's got more options, more skill sets than Ford has. But on with front football, Ford is world class as well, and also he's probably, from my sort of external viewpoint, more leadership skills at this point in time.
yeah,
He's probably more vocal. There's lots of talk around. He's almost the coach on the pitch. Is very vocal in training, in meetings, etc. Really drives the message, etc., etc. That's all stuff that Finn needs to probably improve in, perhaps in comparison to get.
yeah,
If they're top trumps, Finn's not top in all categories. Finn's got areas where he's well above, but there's areas where Ford will trump him, and then it becomes a sort of a decision from Borthwick's perspective of what attributes does he value the most. And if he values that vocal leadership stuff, then probably Ford's going to get the upper hand at the moment. So the challenge is set for Finn to get better.
If it doesn't help, they have like 2 vice captains, 2 co-captains, and all that, and that's the thing. It's like, who's the blooming leader now? Marion Toge is the captain. That should be it. But that's why isn't Ford vice captain?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dingers was vice captain in one of the games, wasn't he? But like there's no sort of figurehead leader anymore, is there? Like, the attack will be run by the fly half, the defense will be run by probably a centre. The captain might have the last decision, but whenever there's like kick for goal or go for the corner, they go to the fly half and say, "Right, what are we doing? What's the attack? How are we going to do this?" Like the captaincy isn't what it used to be in terms of
No.
all encompassing. It's a committee almost now, and
Yeah.
and someone will run the attack, and that will be forward in those instances.
When you're talking about drop goals, though, Finn can kick a 50-metre one at Toman Park in the rain.
Of course he can, yeah.
Yeah. I suppose the difficulty also is as well is that like whoever is 10, like the other 10 is not going to be on the bench. Like it's always going to be like a Marcus Smith. Because I think Finn is a better 10 than Marcus Smith, and I think lots of other people are better 15s than Marcus Smith. But he gives you enough of what you need that he can cover both positions. And so whoever the 10 is, the other 10 is never getting onto that bench. And so that's also where it was kind of difficult for Finn. It was like as soon as and I don't disagree with what they did in the Lions either. I think Russell was the obvious 10 to start, and I don't disagree with that at all. It's just obviously the disappointment that Finn was never going to be on the bench in that situation, and England have taken the same. It makes the most sense, right? And like I said, like it also, you mentioned the previous one, Charles, about like the importance of like getting those wins for obviously the World Cup draws and stuff, and how important it was that we make sure we're in the top 6, but sort of as high as we can get. And I do think George Ford was the right choice to make to be able to kind of solidify those. I feel like it's a weird one of like, I think Finn Smith is probably better at, if the team's on the back foot, I feel like he actually has an ability to get you on the front foot. I think George Ford relies on other people to get you on the front foot, and then he's able to control it from there. But I don't think he's a sort of player that can do it himself. But the thing was, I still felt like that was like the perfect. He was still probably the right choice. Well, he was the right choice for the New Zealand game. And that as soon as we did get on the front foot, and there were some incredible players in there to help do that, he was able to really effectively manage that and was out and out like an incredible player that day. But I also think that sometimes when you've got like Six Nations teams and tournaments where perhaps like getting those points is not the big thing on the line at the moment, like you probably will see a bit more Finn because you want to kind of see what playmaking opportunities he can give you. I feel like like Finn is the 10 that could actually change things for you and win you a game that way. Ford can win you a game if other people have gotten you on the front foot, and it's a very different, like I said, they're very, very different 10s, and so sometimes it really is the opposition in front of you. And I think he was the right. I agree about what you said about Argentina. I don't think George Ford was at his best necessarily. I wouldn't say he really stuck out to me as like, but yeah, it was kind of undeniable what he did in the All Blacks game, and that was always going to get him the shirt into Argentina, because I always felt like Argentina were probably going to be the toughest test, actually, ironically, out of all of the 4. I felt like that was going to be the hardest game because of their kind of stock at the moment, and kind of the way that they've been playing.
Not harder than the All Blacks.
I was going to say not the All Blacks.
I still would have put Argentina above the All Blacks just based on the way both are playing at the moment. I think world rankings are obviously not quite the same between the two of them, but I actually felt like Argentina felt slightly more on form to me than the All Blacks had. So I felt like that was kind of a really big game. Like those two were definitely the hardest games, right? So once you pick one for one, you were picking the same person, the same 10 for the other, weren't you? Realistically.
Yeah, to be fair, Argentina, like you said, they are good. They beat the All Blacks this year, I'm pretty sure. I mean, they are they're a class unit. They're not the the weak side that they used to be. They've beaten every team.
No.
Have they beat the Box? I can't think they didn't this year, but they've beat every other team in World Rugby. So like, they're phenomenal athlete, and that Carreras, I mean, if we're talking about 10s,
I know.
I'll be honest with you, like, how have Bath got him and Finn? Like, how is that physically possible? But anyway, I'm not going to go down that route. But let's just finish off the rest of the team. I think
we've got wingers
it's not. Yeah, we need to crack on. But I mean, centres is pretty hard. Because I don't know if Hutch is in the squad. He's back training. He was on the form of his life in the Prem.
They didn't say he was. He wasn't one of the ones listed. So I think it makes it sound like I like sneak on people's Instagrams. I swear I don't. It just pops up on there that where people are. But maybe it will say on there where he is. Because as soon as it's like, oh, they're abroad, it's like, well, obviously.
Yeah.
There's no info. But they didn't list him. He's not one of the picture people saying back in. So I'm assuming.
No.
But then it's interesting because he didn't play last weekend. So it's an interesting.
Tonga that played, but I think was it Tonga?
Yeah.
He did play in that game, but then like we're then short there, I think, because there's no Dingers, there's no Hutchinson, there's no Freeman, so they are first three choices in centre. Imagine, so it's almost like the Lichfield Tame Cup partnership might have to play Prem Rugby, which would be interesting. I mean, they both perform well. They've both been playing. Lichfield played well all year so far. Played some great games in the Prem. So yeah, it'd be great to see them step up. Back three: Ferbs, Lights, Hendy.
Depends how bad that knock on Hendy looked pretty big. So I suppose it depends. I mean, it was a head injury, right? It was like a head knock. And he was down for a very, very and he was down for quite a long period of time. So that just depends how serious that is. I think if it's serious enough that he doesn't play, I think Tadaro will come back in.
Yeah. And that's probably it. It's a tough one. We'll have to see what it turns out. I mean, Bristol's going to be a real challenge because they, as you've said before, Jess, they've been a bogey side for us.
Yeah.
But I mean, now surely the time to play them. They've got half their squad is injured.
Yeah, half is injured. They did actually lose a couple of players here and there to different, because they've got a few people from different countries, right? So they actually lost a few players here and there. You add that to the injury list. It's probably the best chance we've had over the last, and that sounds really weird considering we were European finalists last year, the year before that we won the Prem. But this probably is our best chance in the past few years to be able to get a victory there.
Yeah, I mean that Genge, I imagine they'll rest.
Yes.
Although I'm trying to think if they're in the Champions Cup or not, because if they're in the Challenge Cup, you'd play Genge in the Prem game and then just not play him in the Challenge Cup because it's the Challenge Cup. Like, so I don't know whether they. I don't know. I can't remember where they finished last year. I think they were higher up the league than, so they might be in the Champions Cup. But anyway, that Genge is obviously a class player. That if he plays, I'm sure he'll give big Trevor challenges.
It says that in Jan they're playing Bordeaux Begler, so I'm pretty sure they're in the Champions.
Yeah, okay. So maybe they might rest Genge against us then, because he'll have to be rested. But otherwise, it's a case of like it's just who they can get on the pitch. I mean, Reece Samet, he'll come back in, but I'm not really worried about their winger threatening us when they've got no, they're 9 short, they're 10 short. The centres are not fully strength, although Rensburg's good. Like it's sort of like similar to the sense of the game against Tigers. Last week we should have won that game. On paper, we had the better side, and I think we're going into this Bristol's game potentially. We don't know what the side's going to be, but potentially we'll have a stronger team on paper. But they've got to perform. It's performance equals result, and we've got to see that this year. This year, performances haven't been great, but we've won games, and that's not going to last forever.
No.
Just seems the Bristol game always seems to fall after the internationals, doesn't it? The away one especially is just one of them. But aren't they?
We had that last time.
Yeah, aren't they really badly hit with injuries as well?
Very bad. Yeah,
that's what you said. Yeah,
it's like you think about it's literally probably like not too far off a situation of us at the end of last season. Like it's becoming a big problem. I think they definitely talked about someone. Can't remember what game it was, and they said this person's going back to Bristol and he'd come in as injury cover. So they're in the situation of literally having to get people in on. You never want to be in a position of having to have injury cover contracts. Like you're in a sticky situation. Yeah, exactly.
They've brought in quite a few injury covers. I think they brought in Orlando, and they brought who's the old Argentinian centre who was playing for Miami. I want to say Sharks, but one of the Miami team that folded, so he was out of contract, and they picked him up. They brought in Toby Fricker, who used to play for them, who was playing Welsh Prem rugby. Like they've brought in a lot of players from all around the place because they are like not just like misc injuries, it's sort of Achilles injuries and hamstring injuries, and maybe they've got some in the back over this cup period, but anyway, we shall see. It's hard enough to predict the Saints team. I'm not sure we can go down the route of predicting the Bristol team.
No.
So we get a prediction in then. Shall we start with prediction? Jess, do you want to go first?
I just say what happened. I know all of us predicted a win for last week. We didn't get it, but I can't remember.
None of us got anything.
No, I can't remember who picked try scores. I can't even remember who scored try. So that's how bad.
I can't remember who I picked.
You had James and he didn't play. Oh, we didn't adjust it.
Whoops.
And
I'll
then
go JJ.
you had Ferbs, Jess, and I had Slight. So no try
Hey,
scorers, no results.
Ferbs did get a really good drop goal though. He took some lessons from the.
Yeah. That was because
Okay.
JJ threw an absolutely horrific pill. Just like it was literally like floating through the air at 0 mile an hour up, and he sort of took it above his head. He was lucky not to get
Yeah, he
ended,
didn't
and
get
it was a
there.
nice little drop
It
goal.
was he wasn't in a George Ford situation where Mitchell passed like the most on point passes that you've
No,
ever seen to set someone up. Like,
yeah,
um,
there's drop goals and
should
there's
I
that thing.
say? I mean, I'm going to be there this weekend. My first time going, so
It'll be good.
I'm
Yeah, good experience. I've never been to
praying that.
where it
No,
is.
me
What's
either. And
called?
it was one of those where it's like a situation of like it's easy to get tickets because it's a gigantic stadium. So,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go.
Aston so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there before.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 30-35. Remembering to do it the right way around this time because we're the away team. Who should I pick? Who should I pick? Who should I pick? I'm gonna go. And this is assuming he plays. I mean, they've told us he's back in training, so he better. I'm gonna go for Pearson. I'm gonna pick a forward this
Okay,
time.
yeah, he was on top form before, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was scoring them all the time. So
yeah, it's good memory, good call. Go on, Si.
I don't know. After last week, I'll go 23-29, and I'll go. I don't know. I'll go Slights. He needs to. If he's third game, you were going to have him, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
He needs. Yeah, he's had his 2 games to get back into the fold. I think he'll score in this one. Like I know he scored against Newcastle. But...
He did, yeah. He did on his first game back. Fair play.
I'll go 21-35. And I mean, I'm gonna go Todoro.
Makes sense.
If he doesn't play, I'll change it. But
I know. I know you're only a pup, Jess, but you must have heard of Only Fools and Horses, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So I'm just giving you a heads up. If you're at the ground, the flats just behind the stadium, that's where they filmed the last few series. That's Del Boy's flat. So if you want to go and take your picture by the garage and stuff, just round the corner.
What the Nelson Mandela House was in?
Yeah, it was
Bristol.
in London. The first 4 to 5 series was in London. Then they moved it because it was so popular to Bristol. If you go around the back of the stadium, you'll see Nelson Mandela House is the big block of flats. I think his number was number 20. And there's all the garages, and that's the garage where Del Boy found the watch. And it's still there. People go there now and have their pictures taken. So just a heads up if you want to go around.
There you go. You heard it. We're not just a rugby podcast. We're educating the nation.
I must say though, we probably should
makes sense,
really.
Rodney.
We probably should really briefly just cover off England because we obviously did have a few Saints lads in there. So we should probably touch on that super briefly. I mean, it was, to be fair, like outside of the individual Saints players' performances, like that's a pretty strong series for England, to be fair. Like I've been not that interested in England for a while because it kind of hit a patch where I was just like, I actually really don't care that much about it. But I felt like that was a really good Quilter Nation series actually across the board. Like not just for England, like there were some really good games in there. But yeah, it was good to see, like it's really good to see that. I think they mentioned like someone had mentioned Coles in that Argentina game. Like they said he's really looking like a test animal, a giraffe if we had to pick a specific animal. But yeah, really, I think he looks really strong. And I've also got to say that like I felt like Mitchell when he came on was a massive difference in terms of the tempo and like picking that up. Like I remember it got to 60 minutes and I was trying to think. So I remember saying to my mum, like in a non-biased way, I know he's a Saints player, but I was like, this needs Mitchell now. Like we had a little bit of a period where we were in a bit of we'd sort of slumped a bit and they'd caught up, and I was like, we really need Alex. And I thought he was really, really strong when he came on for the last like 15 minutes. I know technically we could have lost it at the end there if they hadn't fluffed their line out, but I felt like there was a big difference in kind of the pace picking up and people getting back into the game a little bit. And then Pollock is Pollock, isn't he? I mean,
yeah, I think he went with like the Pom squad ×2. Like it was such an effective weapon for him through the series. So it's like how can you make the Pom squad stronger rather than like thinking about the first team. So like if you
Yeah.
think like Ben Spencer's a top player and everything, and his style of play is probably more kick heavy and not
Yes.
quite the tempo that Mitchell comes with. So if you can play 60 minutes with him and then suddenly unleash Mitchell and you get like
Yeah.
so with that bench, it's like the Pom squad's even stronger. But I don't think he quite got the balance right there because Mitchell, you gotta win the game. Like the thing is, Argentina had to sniff with 10 minutes to go, and they're such an emotional team, and built on so much energy, and the crowd looked amazing. The fans, etc., got behind them.
Yeah.
That and like I said, they're amazing. They've beaten everyone. They're a great side.
Yeah.
So it's like I think it's easy to look at that Argentina game and go, "Oh, England didn't perform," but then I think got to really give credit to Argentina because they keep doing it against all the best sides.
Yeah.
Like so, it's at a certain point you just got to go. Now that's actually a good win for England because they're a very
Oh
good
yeah. I
side.
mean, when they had that line out, I was like, if they get this ball off this line out, they'll win. Like I didn't doubt for a second they'd have gotten over the line at the end there. And then for some reason they sort of went for a little bit too much when they probably should have gone a bit more conservative, and but I don't think they know how to do that. It said they're kind of like emotional driven and don't know if they know how to do that. But yeah, I mean, look, we've said it before, and I'm sure that people obviously agree because like most people are Saints fans, but I think the series really did show that Mitch is like out and out the best nine in the country, like, and one
Oh
of the top in the game. Like I thought he was just like sensational all throughout. Um, and then yeah, I mean, like I would say, like I watched some of the interview that Ellis Gent had after, and he was really really nice about Pollock as well. Talking
yeah,
about how there's this guy who's he's like a lot younger than me, like on the sort of opposite end of the scale, like to me, like he's talked about how he's here and he's got his 3 kids with him, and then he's got like Pollock, and he said, but you just can't. And he said some of the things we've said before about how you notice like a shift in energy, not just from him but from like everyone else. And he basically said the same thing. He said, you see this guy and this guy getting absolutely up for it, loving his rugby and really loving what he's doing and just getting out there and getting really excited. And Gent was like, it's given him, like he said, it was like it's given me like a new lease of life in terms of like
yeah,
rugby and getting up for it. It's like impossible not to kind of be inspired by it. So I thought that was really, really nice. And just kind of
yeah,
kind of solidifies what it is that he brings. Like, of course, you want to see Henry starting because if you watch him do that for 80 minutes, it's incredible. But you also can't deny his genuine impact, like coming on at 50 minutes when maybe the energy has dipped a little bit and it needs to kind of grow. Like he's definitely a perfect person for that kind of situation. So yeah, England are really, really good place. And yeah, it's just good to see. Like, obviously, it's a shame that Dingwall got injured, and I think he's sort of unfortunately in a difficult situation now because that performance by Jomo was out of this world.
yeah. They offloaded
So
pretty quick on that.
and like I said, when they talked about how that he'd play 10, that kick into was it Faye Boso's hands
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
literally perfect, like absolutely on point. And they said he played 10 for Bath. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, he started
So
the
that
season.
that was
I went to the Bath v Quins game at the Stoop at the beginning of the year, and yeah, Joa was at 10 because they haven't got Finn
yeah,
and
yeah,
Carreras or either, so they so they've
yeah,
got 2 world class 10s, like probably the
yeah.
best 2 10s in the
And
world.
so
That makes
and
sense.
so that throws a bit of a spanner in the works. But yeah, I'd just say overall, like I suppose just to kind of finish it off, like it's just really positive to see, like I think in the end, like the club to have like 13 internationals like across the different countries like representing. And like for England we had loads, didn't we? At one point we had, what was it, like the 4 or 5 for England and then 3 that were playing for England A. Like so many just representatives. Like yes, of course it comes with we've already talked about, it comes with the negatives of the negatives of people coming back, and things get a little bit tricky when you don't have people and they've got to slot back in. But at the end of the day, like to know that we're just like a little tiny club smack bang in the middle of the country and it's producing this like world class international talent, like it's such a privileged position to be in.
100%. And like I said, yeah, I think all their stock's probably gone up. I mean, like I said, we've talked about Finn, but otherwise, everyone else, I think all their stock has gone up at international level. They've all represented their club so well. But like I've said before, all it does watching this, I mean, it'll be really interesting next year because that's probably the last autumn series. We're now into the era of the Nations Cup. And
Mhm.
that'll be interesting and exciting, I guess. But um, what it does do is it just makes me, I can't wait to see that Saints team at its best in green, black, and gold. You know,
Yeah,
I want to see Saints get their best side out again and actually see where we are, because I don't feel like we've had that, this year. We've had, with injuries and internationals. I think it's not. It's been a long time. Like, we didn't even get it in the European Cup final. We couldn't get our best side out in that game. It just seems such a long time since we've had our best 15 on the pitch and seen what they can do. But because it's an honour to watch them, and we haven't seen it in a while. But anyway, it should be a really exciting game on Saturday. Late kickoff, isn't it? It's the 5:30 kickoff Saturday. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
It is an evening one, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good game. Great to get the Prem back, get some proper rugby under their belts. It'll be. I can't wait. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. I've been Charles. Jess, forget Jess. Simon's been Simon. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.